Hey you, yeah, you, the one trying to make a video game. I've got someone here that can help you, and that someone is Intel, which is not a someone, it's a company. But this company, they are going to help you as if they were a somebody and a someone and also a something. Check out software.intel.com/gamedev to find out how Intel is making sure all the innovation in gaming continues to happen on the PC as part of the Intel Game Dev program. Again, that URL is software.intel.com/gamedev. Sign up and start something new. It's the internet, you're busy, let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. I've got a steering wheel right here. You can't see it. I'm going to show people. Yeah.
Why are you aiming the camera at your crotch?
Well, that's because that's, really that's my ulterior motive this entire time. The whole reason we've done 70 episodes of this podcast is just so I could show my crotch on the internet.
Have we?
Yeah, 70. Number 70 is this one. You missed 69 last week, Mike. I was very disappointed in you.
I should have come back to vacation early.
Yeah. This is the GamesBeat Decides podcast. It's the podcast where we decide everything about the world of games so you don't have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeffrey Grubb, and with me is...
Mike Minotti, reviews editor at GamesBeat. I'm throwing my title in there now. What do you think about that?
Oh, shit. I don't know. I don't know if I can handle that.
Fancy.
Yeah, I'm your filthy boy, we've decided, because I'm showing my crotch on the internet.
Don't use that term again.
Filthy boy or crotch?
Well, you can say that you're my filthy boy specifically is what alarmed me.
I'm your filthy boy, Jeffrey Grubb. All right, in today's episode, besides the filth, we're going to go over some news, some games, and we're going to try to decide the best game of January. And I think we might do this throughout the year. We'll see how it goes.
It was a good January, right?
It was a good January.
Bizarrely good.
Yeah, there's going to be months where I think this is harder than others, and we might just be like, it doesn't matter. We were still just playing whatever, Monster Hunter. Okay, yeah, but I think we can kind of hop right into it. Do you want to maybe talk... Well, you know what? Actually, I always forget to do this. Get more from me and Mike at GamesBeat.com. If you have something, share it with us. Email the podcast, games+podcast@VentureBeat.com, plus sign in there, or at GamesBeat or at GB Decides. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or Mixer or Twitch, there's an audio version. You can get that by going to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher. I use Podcast Addict on Android. There's more everywhere. Finally, if you like the show, rate us on Apple Podcasts. That really helps the show, raise its profile. So, yeah, you just got back from vacation, Mike. Were you playing anything while you were gone?
The only thing I really played was Celeste on the Switch. I was trying not to play too many games. Like, I didn't even I used to always bring my 3DS to the parks because, waiting in line trying to do something. But I didn't even do that because, you have Fast Pass and stuff, so... And, I was with my family, so I thought I would talk to them sometimes. So I didn't really play anything in the parks, but when I was at bed at night, I would play a little Celeste, it's a very easy game to kind of pick up, play through a bit of it, and put it back down. And I've been really enjoying that one. I'm sure you've been talking about it, and you've been playing it, right?
Yeah, I like that game a whole bunch. I've beaten the core game, and now I'm sort of going back and getting everything, because I don't want to stop playing. It's good.
Yeah, I kind of like my philosophy is if I see one of those strawberries, I'll get it, but I'm not necessarily super hunting for them because I know you can go back and do all that stuff. But man, that game is just it's really. I mean, the platforming is just super solid. It's fun. It's interesting. It's kind of like Super Meat Boy, but just having that bit more of a framework and having something to it besides just complete irreverent, it's a funny thing. Not that that word for Super Meat Boy.
It totally did, yeah.
I like that there is this little thing there, and it's interesting because a lot of it is framed around anxiety and panic attacks, which is something I suffered from pretty badly at one point in my life. They do a good job
with it, really.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I've been enjoying that aspect of it. I think I'm I just, I don't want to get spoilers, but I just fell down a lot, and I'm in that level now. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of making my way through it and collecting B-sides and the big hearts. What do the big hearts do?
I think if you get all the big hearts, or maybe enough of them, you unlock the 8th world, which is something else. That's what I'm trying to do right now. So.
That's cool.
I'm also trying to get the strawberries at the same time. I think I probably should just go back and get the hearts and just worry about that for now. But we'll see. It's just they're really solid. They keep it interesting the whole time with just the platforming.
Yeah, I like how like it's not like introducing new moves. It's just like the level design itself is what is kind of growing and becoming more elaborate.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of maintains that the entire time, and I've really dug that. The other one that I've been playing, I guess it's kind of similar. It's Dandara, also on PC and Switch, another indie 2D game, side-scrolling. But this one's definitely much more of a Metroidvania. And you can tell that they built it for mobile first with where you are you never run and you never jump. You are just aiming with like a semicircle to decide where you're going to shoot off onto the wall.
Kind of like interesting enough.
Yeah, it works. I mean, once you start like getting the hang of it, you could really just bounce all over the level and go anywhere. It's very kinetic and fast paced. When I really enjoy it though is in the combat, because you have to be very deliberate. It does remind. I mean, I've been playing Monster Hunter, and it reminds me of that, where instead of like animation priority, you have to be thinking about the fact that you can only move so much at any one time, and you have to charge up your shot before you can really use it. You can't just like jump there and just start spamming the shoot button. You have to jump and then have to give yourself a second to charge up your gun and then come in and attack with that. So it's a lot of bouncing around, dodging stuff, getting your footing, taking a shot, moving again, sticking and moving. And it's very thoughtful, and I really appreciate that. And then the Metroidvania parts of it have been really catching on with me. I've really been digging it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Metroidvanias coming up to the Switch pretty soon here. I think Owlboy is next week, and I've been waiting for that one to come to Switch for a while. And then Hollow Knight and Dead Cells are not too far off, so the system is really going to become flush with those pretty soon.
Yeah, for sure. It still just is. It's still working. It's still the place where I want to play all these games. So yeah, I'm really digging that. How about you? What else you been up to?
So when I was on my trip, you've heard about this kind of Star Wars VR experience that is at Disney World and Disneyland. I think it's in a few other places too. It's called Secrets of the Empire. It's really interesting. It's like what they do is they basically have like a facility where they set up these series of rooms, and you wear a backpack that's the computer, and you wear a headset. And it's 4 people go through this at once. So it's me, my 2 brothers, and my dad. And they just make it so that these rooms and like elements all correlate to what you see in the VR. So if like in the Star Wars world, there's like a chair, you can actually sit down in a chair in that room. If there's a droid, there will be a little statue of a droid.
That's really neat.
It's really cool. Like, sometimes this stuff, kind of makes me sick or disorients me, but having so much like real world stuff there was cool. And they had sensors everywhere too. So I don't even know where the sensors work, but if you lifted up your hand, your hand would show up as a stormtrooper hand and stuff. So it was really cool experience. They kind of guide you along. At one point, there's a weapon rack, and you picked up the guns. Like I literally was like picking up the guns and like handing them to people. But it's so cool because like you see the gun in VR, you reach out, yeah, there's a gun here, take this gun. It's like almost nonlinear at certain points, like my dad just couldn't help himself. I had to shoot the gun as soon as he got it. So like it alerted the stormtroopers immediately, and the droid was like, "Oh, good job, right?" But it's so like, at one point you go in this little like skiff, like this little floating platform that's going across like a lava gap, and like we're like all huddled onto this thing, careful not to be by the edge. Even though like obviously you're not gonna throw off anything.
No, there's a bunch of hidden Mickeys down there if you fall.
Yeah. Oh, hidden Mickeys. But yeah, it was really cool. It's I always kind of thought that the best application for AR and VR was going to be theme park stuff, because I'm not somebody who really sees myself buying a VR headset and like using it enough to justify it. But like as like a special experience like this in a place that like a facility that's really built around it reminds me of that one E3 when Microsoft had like that insane HoloLens Halo experience before the Halo 5 preview. And that was like the coolest thing I did at that show. And it really had nothing to do with Halo. But yeah, I still think that like Disney and Universal, getting a hold of this stuff is when it kind of becomes the. And this was a really good showcase of just how interesting it could be. Because it was one of the coolest things I did on that trip, if not the coolest. Really.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, there's going to be application, I think, for like AR/VR on a personal scale in a few years. But I think until then, and really even beyond that, like on a huge scale, being able to use that technology to do very interesting things, theme parks are maybe always going to have an advantage.
Right. And theme parks have. I mean, Disney used to have Disney Quest. It opened in like '98. It just closed like last year, I think, which had some very early VR attractions like the flying carpet with Aladdin and this thing called Ride the Comics, where you were given a lightsaber basically, and like it was really cutting edge and cool at the time. This is way before the resurgence of VR. So this is kind of like the seeing like what a theme park can do with it right now. The only other thing I see theme parks doing with it is like there's a lot of roller coasters where they just have you wear VR headsets, so like you're going through like a different kind of roller coaster, I guess. Which isn't quite as interesting as like getting to walk around literally your own place and have this interactive experience with your like friends and family, and you're kind of all laughing about it and poking each other, right?
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, being able to do that simultaneously with other people, that's something that I think the current form of personal VR is missing. Like you could go share virtual spaces, but being able to do it as like a cooperative experience in person still is going to have some extra magic to it for sure.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny. Like, I just see my brother just a stormtrooper. I literally just poke him like, ha ha ha. It's funny, right?
Totally.
I mean, yeah, it's just great. We're running around, we're shooting things. We're like, all right, open. At one point, you basically had to like do a Simon Says thing on a control panel to open the door. And like when one person's trying to do it, you're like, and they mess up. You get mad at them. And like someone else is running to the next room to shoot a stormtrooper. It's neat. It's unique, right? There's nothing quite. It's like a bunch of things, like a theme park ride or a video game or this, but it's not quite any of those. So yeah, if you go to Disney World or Disneyland, I really think it's something you should do. You kind of have to book your appointment for it ahead of time, but it was super fun.
Okay. So I've also been spending some time with the Super NT. This is the new Super Nintendo throwback console from Analog. I really like it. It's very cool. Do you have any questions about it, Mike?
Yeah. So I have my original Super Nintendo plugged into like an older TV, and I have an SNES Classic on my HD TV. Do I need a Super NT?
So it depends. Do you ever feel like you want to either get rid of your CRT or you want to see what those games look like in 1080p without lag? Like when you're playing your Super Nintendo Classic, do you ever think like, oh, I can notice some latency here?
Not really.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
So yeah, there's some people that's going to matter too, and if it doesn't, I think you and if you already have an SNES Classic, especially if you ever get in the mood to like start hacking that and putting more games on it, yeah, you're probably fine without this. This is for people who are considering who already have a bunch of SNES cartridges, and then are considering things like FrameMeisters or these open source scan converters, which are devices that cost $300, $400, $500 to up-res a Super Nintendo for an HD screen with minimal or no lag. Those are expensive. This is $190, and it's just as powerful. It has zero latency. It's really well made. And they're just going to keep... And it's like, the thing is, they're like, oh, it's completely accurate. And for the most part, it is. There are a few things here and there, but they've already sort of updated the system, the firmware, to address those things in a matter of days. So yeah, it seems like it's just going to keep getting better and better and better.
I just kind of want. I mean, I have a lot of Super Nintendo cards, and I like playing on the CRT. I think it's kind of nostalgic, but this does also sound cool. Does a plug-in? It probably is pretty easy to capture off of this thing, huh?
Oh yeah, that's one of the best things. Like literally, you just plug it right in. Because with if you had a Super Nintendo and you were like, okay, I want to capture that. Like, there's some ways to do AV cable capture, but most modern capture cards don't really support that natively. So you'd have to go through something like a FrameMeister, and those things can be very finicky. I've experienced the FrameMeister, not the OSCC so much, which people swear by. They say that's a lot better. But the FrameMeister can be very, like, oh, you get the settings all set up, and then one game works and another game doesn't look quite as right, and then you have to go in these very arcane settings, and it's just not great. And that's really the only way you could capture through over HDMI. This just works. It just works, and it's really great. So yeah,
I have one more question.
Yeah.
How did you get sent this? I'm the retro gaming guy. What the hell?
They emailed me, and I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm interested in this. I'm very interested. And they were like, hey, Phil Fish is doing this menu system. You want to talk?
Next time,
like, yeah. And
next
like, hey,
time somebody wants to send me some PC gaming thing, I'm not going to forward it to you. It's all mine.
Hey, it worked out. You were on vacation when this all happened.
I was on vacation,
so it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, but I do need to maybe look at this thing. It sounds pretty awesome.
I mean, it might not. We could probably still ask them because they're. I'm kind of. I got the Super Famicom colors.
Sammer Famic?
I know. God, it came out really wrong.
Sammer Famic.
Super. How does that one even happen? Sammer, the Sammer Famic colors, the Super Famicom colors. God, I still can't even really say it. And it's cool. I've never had a Super Famicom, so I'm like, oh, I'll go with that. But then I saw like the transparent ones. And it has this like LED on the front that like can either sort through colors like RGB, but it also can like match the center pixel of whatever game you're playing. And on the transparent consoles, it like blares like really bright. And on this one, it's just like this small little LED light. And I'm kind of like, oh, I wish I would have got the transparent one. It looks cool. But yeah, I don't know. We could talk to them. They seem pretty cool. And like I said, they're going to keep updating.
Yeah, so. It sounds fun. Cool beans.
Yeah, I think we could probably just hop into the news. I mean, I've been playing a few other things, but stuff I've kind of talked about in the past, I'm starting to realize. So, and there's not much new to say about it. I mean, other than this, Racing Wheel is still very good. Okay, yeah. So I guess let's start here at the top, Mike. Bandai Namco is working on Metroid Prime 4, according to a Eurogamer rumor. How do you feel about that?
That's fine. I think, right? I mean, I'm not one of the, I think it's fine. I don't, there are very few studios you can tell me like they're working on this game that would have a very strong opinion about anymore, right?
Okay.
Almost every studio, they have their hits. And, you know, if you told me Naughty Dog was making Metroid Prime 4, that might be interesting, right? Or Platinum was on it, I would have an idea of what to expect. But this, yeah, sure. I'll tell you one thing, right? Like, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I don't care because Retro Studios isn't making it.
Well, yeah. What does that even mean anymore? Yeah.
Right. It means nothing anymore. You know, it's not like if Retro Studios was making it. It's like the people who made Metroid Prime 1 are working on this. Right. Doesn't mean that at all. So.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm still not, I mean, I can't think of a ton of Bandai Namco games I love. I mean, I guess maybe they did just make, well, I mean, they had Arc System Works make, you know, Dragon Ball Fighters. So I don't know. We'll see. I kind of think, I would want Nintendo to work on this all internally, but they've had some success working with third-party publishers on games like this. I'm trying to remember like the most recent one. It's not coming to mind, but they did it, and I think it turned out fine.
Well, there was Bandai Namco last worked on like one of those bad GameCube Star Fox games. I mean, that was so long.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they worked with them on the Mario Kart games as well.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh no, you know what it was? Bandai Namco helped on Smash Brothers.
Yes, that's right.
One.
Okay, so yeah,
that's what it was.
I mean, yes. So they're doing work for Nintendo, and it still sounds like Nintendo's in charge. So that's fine. It's probably going to be.
Yeah. It's going to be fine. I mean, it's just about kind of having that development power, and Bandai Namco's been most best known for Dark Souls, right? These people can make a atmospheric single player game,
right?
So
yeah, they should get From to help. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so moving on, Fortnite hit 3.4 million concurrent players last Sunday. The game went down. That's across like console, both PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. But still, that's a huge number. This game is popular in a way that that I still kind of find surprising. But it is absolutely in the mainstream zeitgeist, almost in the same way that Pokemon Go was for a little bit. Not quite that big. Nothing probably ever will be that big, but I mean, right. It's everywhere, man. It is
surprisingly popular for a game that like we kind of not dismiss, but did too much of like, these guys want to be like, player unknown battlegrounds, and it is incredible to me just like how like this thing hit as much as Paragon didn't hit,
right?
Basically.
Yes, for sure.
That's the game industry for you.
Yeah, exactly. They shut down Paragon. Now they got Fortnite going just fine. And it's like every like one of those weird meme Twitter accounts. So like every other meme they post is about Fortnite now. People on like sports podcasts talk about Fortnite all the time. It's out there.
It's
being free helps.
This isn't what Fortnite was even supposed to be.
No, totally. It's
like Fortnite would have been nothing. No one would be talking about Fortnite if it was just like what the game they were actually working
Right.
on for 3 years was supposed to be.
Yeah, they hit it at the right time with the right business model. It's free and on the right systems. It's on consoles. Yeah, that really. I mean, I see my nephew. He's always on there playing this game every night now. So yeah. But other games that are really, really popular at the moment, Monster Hunter World. This is the game that overtook PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds on Xbox One's game store as the #1 top paid game.
Already shipped 6 million units. It's #1 digital game PlayStation 4 in January.
Fastest selling Capcom game ever.
Yeah, so they've really
hit it.
It finally happened where this thing's finally like becoming mainstream in America and maybe in like elsewhere, right? And
yes.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I didn't think that much of this when they announced, like, oh, they're making a console Monster Hunter. Okay. Like, the people like Monster Hunter will like that. But no, it really is. Like, I think part of it is the timing was really good. And then they also made a really good game. And everybody's kind of into it right now.
Yeah, they. I mean, I was kind of doing the same reaction where at the time they were, people were saying, at least, I don't know if Capcom ever said this, but people were saying, oh, this is the one where it's Monster Hunter for the West. And I'm like, okay, well, good luck with that. People try that kind of shit all the time with games that are popular in Japan. It never works. This time, it really, really, really worked. I think you also nailed it. It's a good game, and that really helped. So
yeah, that does help with your games. If you got a 90 or above Metacritic, that usually can help sometimes.
Right. And it still
usually can help sometimes. You can quote me on that nugget of wisdom.
Put it on the box.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's a game I'm still enjoying. I wish I had more time for it, though. I do wish it was still kind of just on a portable system, but I get why it's not.
I would have thought, that's the other thing. I thought, oh, this is the one they're going to make before the Switch one that's really big.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the Switch one now.
I kind of it's weird. I like this as a console thing. It looks really... I didn't think that this would be one of my favorite, games optimized by... a PlayStation 4 Pro, but it's really decent, pretty well optimized on there.
Yeah, they did a good job with those versions. It seems like they almost made them for the Pro and the Xbox One X.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, because it runs pretty disappointingly on the other systems, but that's fine. Okay. So how about this? Red Dead Redemption 2, it got delayed. I don't think we talked about that because we didn't do a normal episode last week. October 26th. Yeah, that's fine, but... How about this Battle Royale first-person mode sort of rumor thing happening?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So first-person mode, I think, yes, that's going to happen because it's in GTA, and it seemed like it seemed to do really well for that game. So I could see it working in that game, in Red Dead as well. Battle Royale, that also seems kind of obvious because Rockstar was one of the first companies to experiment with a mode like that in GTA Online. They want the Red Dead Online to be just as big, and this seems like a key to doing that.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if the word is the right word, because I'm sure it's... Obviously, Red Dead Redemption 2 single player is probably fine, but I do have this nagging feeling that so much emphasis is going to be on this Red Dead Redemption Online thing.
You just think about the stories, though, where GTA 5 was coming out, and Leslie Benzies, or whatever his name was, the third person at Rockstar, the number 3 guy, he was the one that was like, I'm going to push this GTA Online thing. It'll be my baby. I'm going to get it working and set up. And the Housers didn't care about it. And then the game came out, and GTA Online was this huge thing. And then the Housers stepped in and are taking credit for it and pushed Benzies out. It sounds like because of some jealousy about it, and they didn't pay him his bonus, and that thing's still ongoing. So it kind of makes me wonder, what is this mode going to look like? It sounds like they fully understand why GTA Online's successful, and maybe they can replicate it, but who knows?
That's the weird thing about this is this is the first one that they're actually making, kind of really knowing what they can get from it. Right, yeah. So it is going to be interesting to see just what it is and how all-encompassing it is.
Right, and they know that this is the thing that they need to... if Red Dead Redemption story mode doesn't work, that might not matter. If Red Dead Redemption Online doesn't work, that's a problem. And that's good. So, yes, I think I share your concern that there will be a focus paid to the latter as opposed to the former, and maybe the people that maybe I'll get into a Red Dead Redemption Online. I know that I'll at least enjoy playing through most of a Red Dead Redemption story mode.
I can never think of another game where me liking the previous one has been such a detriment to me being excited about the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Because I normally do not like Rockstar games. I'm not a big fan of Grand Theft Auto Online stuff in general, or just that kind of multiplayer setting for a game. What are you playing with your steering wheel?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just right here. I don't want to take it down, so I have to.
It's like I have all these reasons to like not be excited about Redemption 2, where like I feel like it just can't be as good as the first one. It's gonna have all this multiplayer. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll be surprised. We'll see.
Yeah,
but it is still weird how little we've actually seen of that game. Also.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they fully know that you don't have to show a game a ton at least until like 6 months before release, and we're not quite there yet. We'll be there next month. I
thought we were there.
I'm sure E3. Well, I'm not sure. I think E3 will probably be a big time for it, maybe on the PlayStation stage or the Xbox stage.
Sure,
but we'll see. Okay, yeah, but continuing with the Rockstar news, GTA 5 just surpassed 90 million units, and it did 15 million of those units in 2017 alone. This is a game that came out in 2013. So,
is it the best-selling game ever yet, or not quite?
No, not quite. I mean, I guess it depends on how you break some of that stuff down. It's definitely the best-selling game like since it came out. Like, I don't think
because I know sometimes some of those things are like attached to consoles back there, bundled.
Yeah, and like I think if like you bring in Minecraft's still quite a bit ahead of it. But you know, Minecraft doesn't cost as much, and it wasn't retail release at first, so there's a bunch of weird things.
It's definitely one of the biggest hits ever,
easily. Yes, and its staying power is just unimaginable. The idea that it is selling 15 million copies in 2017.
GTA.
I mean, you know, Star Wars Battlefront 2 comes out and sells 9 million copies.
You know what's weird too is like GTA Online. It's not even like a big streamer game, is it?
You know, it's not like as big as some of the other ones, but it's like number 5 or 6 on Twitch most of the time.
Okay, never mind.
What it has is it has the people who watch it only watch Grand Theft Auto. And there's a lot of like role playing streams, so it's not like the kind of typical thing that you're thinking about, where people are like, oh, they're just showing how good they are at GTA Online. No, they're going online and like they're pretending to be a cop, and they're like pulling people over, and it's all done for comedy and stuff. It's very interesting, but that actually is one of the reasons it is still so popular, is because of Twitch, for sure.
Okay then.
EVO 2018. It's coming up pretty soon. This is the big fighting game tournament in Las Vegas every year. It is probably the biggest one in the world. They announced the 8-game main roster of fighting games that people will be able to compete in at the event. There will be side games, but these are the main ones that have their own championships. It goes like this: Tekken 7, Smash 4, Smash Melee, Street Fighter 5, the Arcade Edition, Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, Guilty Gear X2. There's some other like subtitles in there. I can't remember. Injustice 2, Dragon Ball Fighters, but not Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
That's pretty soon for Marvel vs. Capcom to already not be amongst that list.
So yeah, it sounds like what happened is Capcom just totally fucked this up. Like they had a chance to kind of get it on there, and they didn't push for it. And the fan base, or it seems like the fan base was saying Capcom's not even supporting this game, so we're not going to go and vote for it with our money. It seems like a waste of our time.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like Capcom almost just wants to move on from it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's a shame, because I mean,
just focusing
because it's not. I mean, yes, it's
not that bad.
It's not that.
It's not great.
Right.
It's not that bad.
Right.
It's fine.
Right.
It's fun to play. I mean, especially competitively. I'm sure once you get a lot of the problems with it were kind of presentation things, anyways. So gameplay wise, sure, it's fine. But yeah, I'm sure Capcom just wants to focus on Street Fighter 5. It's weird that there's only one Capcom game on there. 3 Arc System Works games.
Yep.
God, yeah.
And it seems like Arc
2 Nintendo games. Or ARMS wasn't one of them, was it?
No, ARMS is not. No. Yeah, so it's just 2 different versions of Smash, yeah.
Including Melee, which came out in freaking 2000.
Yeah, Melee will always be there. It seems like it's gilded now.
Really is.
Yeah, so I mean, you're right though. Like, it seems like Arc has found like the way to hit different tiers of fighting game fans with its like the complexity, like it, Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear X2 hitting the very like technical fighters, and then Dragon Ball Fighters hitting a much broader audience, might be a similar audience that might have like been there for Marvel vs. Capcom. Well, now they could just play Dragon Ball Fighters, and it's got this very enthusiastic community.
Dragon Ball Fighters very easily takes that spot.
Yes,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, there's no way this list happens this year without Dragon Ball Fighters. So pushing out Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite almost makes some sense.
Some people thought it was interesting that Square Enix couldn't get the City NT on there.
Yeah,
that game doesn't seem very good. And also, I don't think Square Enix is very concerned about the competitive.
Right, and then Square Enix would have to again be one of those companies that has to show up first to get the community to think, okay, it's worth investing my time and my money in this. And if Square Enix doesn't do it first, then those fans just won't show up for that. Okay, final news item. Sources are saying that Capcom has laid off staff and cuts the scope of the next Dead Rising game. So this is at Capcom Vancouver, I think, the team that makes the Dead Rising games. And I think they also canceled an unannounced title as well.
Well, Dead Rising 4 seems like it came out with very little fans.
Yeah, and it was not as good as Dead Rising 3, for sure. Dead Rising 3 was a pretty decent Xbox One launch game. Dead Rising 4 just kind of came out and fizzled, like I think a lot of these weird Xbox One, at least timed exclusives, have done. But that one especially so. It wasn't as great as the other games for sure. I think if they cut down the scope and maybe really rethink that series, they could have something like the Dying Light games, or the Dying Light game, like the one game that has been going for like 3 years straight with new content and has been selling just fine that entire time. If they think about it on a scope like that, they could probably still make this series work. But I do
think there needs to be some kind of reboot-ish thing there. I don't think you can make a Dead Rising 5 and get people excited about that. You have to do like, the Monster Hunter World equivalent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dead Rising World or whatever. Something that you have to show something that looks like an advancement, and not just bringing back Frank West wasn't enough to get people excited.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, Mike. I think we can hop into the second segment now. So we should probably get a list of games that came out in January, but
there's 3 that I can think of that really matter.
Yeah, I think you're right. So why don't you start us off while I bring up, in case we miss anything else. But what we're going to do here is I think we're just going to pick the best game of January and maybe pick like 2 runner-ups, so it might work very well for January.
Well, that's 3 I can think of for Celeste, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and I had 3 in my head, and
Monster Hunter World.
Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World, obviously. Those are the 3 big ones.
All right. So,
is there anything else you can really think of?
All right. So you said Celeste, Dragon Ball Fighters, Monster Hunter World. That's pretty much. I mean, Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. No, thank you.
Dissidia was earlier this month.
Yeah, Dissidia was January 30th.
Did Shadow of the Colossus actually come out yet? That is a February game.
That came out like 2 days ago. Yeah, it was like February 6th is when that came out. Okay. So not quite. We'll discuss that next month. So what are you thinking? Like what jumps out to you at first? I mean, I think if we're picking like a top 3 easily, it's those 3 games. And I think we could throw away the rest of the month. I could go back and forth on some of these being the number 1 game of the month, though.
Yeah, Celeste is the one I've really been enjoying the most lately. Mm-hmm. I think it's very interesting. It's clever. It's pretty, super fun to play. Just in terms like, it's probably the indie game I've enjoyed the most since Shovel Knight.
Right. Yeah, it does feel like it has filled that place in my heart where it's like, okay, maybe there'll be another Shovel Knight. Probably not. No one else is going to be that good at it. And Team Meat, they made Super Meat Boy forever ago, and nothing's really matched that either in terms of just quality, like 2D platforming in a retro style. And then this game comes along, and it's just, man, it just keeps getting better and better. It feels so good. The writing nails it. It's a really good story. The music is excellent. It's really solid all around. And then at the same time, though, Monster Hunter World is an incredible achievement. It is.
It's one of the most satisfying grind loops I've seen in an RPG in a while. Just always fun to go out there, do your thing, come back, and just like all the little flourishes, like the little cat animation cooking the food, all these little moments like that.
Yeah,
it's just very well put together.
Yeah,
and again, there's nothing really quite like that. I mean, there are things, but it is interesting how Monster Hunter World is like the better multiplayer RPG thing on a console than like Destiny 2 is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, that's exactly the thing I keep thinking about. It's like, this is the game that is going to definitely become the new Destiny in the way that people were playing Destiny, all year long, and then the expansion would come out, and they'd get very excited about that, play that, and there's a core group of people that were just looking up Destiny information online nonstop. and in droves. It's a huge group, and Destiny 2 has definitely lost them. Activision admitted as much in their investor call yesterday, following their earnings release. They're like, yeah, player engagement has really dropped off, and that's what we're worried about the most right now. And
It should be.
yeah, they really should. And Monster Hunter World is right there to pick up the slack and to say, hey, no, we got you. We got a loop that works. We got a loop that might last 1,000 hours. For some people, it's going to last multiple thousands of hours. So yeah, the fact that Capcom made that work and they made it more palatable to someone like me, who was probably never going to get into the older versions of the game. And they also really made, they paid off the jump to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They made the game look like a modern release in a way that really serves the game well, especially when it comes to the animations of the monsters themselves. How about Dragon Ball FighterZ?
Dragon Ball FighterZ is great. It's probably the least impressive of three. I mean, the most impressive thing about it is that cel-shaded look of the game, which they did already actually do in Guilty Gear Xrd. That just wasn't a licensed thing. It didn't get as much notice. Which is strange, because like it got so little notice that like I think this is the first time a lot of people even saw this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember I was playing Guilty Gear Xrd. I was like, why are people talking about this? This looks incredible.
Yes, that game was one of the best looking games that came out that year. One of the best looking games that ever came out up to that point. And then they just did the same thing with a bunch of characters that people recognize, and it looks exactly like how they remember them, and that blew people away, understandably.
It is actually super fun to play, and I do like that it is a bit more accessible than a lot of other Arc System games. I haven't really delved into story mode yet, so I can't comment on that.
You can take it or leave it. It's okay. It's not the worst thing. I don't know. The story mode is the story parts of the story mode are worth skipping over. I think it's kind of fun to get their tutorial in the story mode. That works pretty well. I think they do a good job.
But I mean, I'm enjoying it a lot. But it's probably the lesser of these three.
I think so.
I think it's between Celeste and Monster Hunter.
Yeah. I do think personally I would go for Celeste. I
would too.
I think I'm madly in love with this game. Like I think that's the best
it's super,
way to put it.
It's
so good.
Definitely the one. It's definitely the game that I can most easily imagine being on my top 10 still.
For sure, exactly. Like I Monster Hunter World will have to continue to bring me back in, like, and just by the nature of the way it's built. Like I could spend all the time in the world with it right now, and then in a couple months, if I'm not like, I'm still not going back to Monster Hunter. What's wrong with that game? Even if I had stopped playing Celeste forever ago, because Celeste is supposed to be a contained experience. Monster Hunter is supposed to be this game where you can come back forever and ever. And maybe it's unfair to hold it against it if I'm having a really good time now. But I'm going to want to see how that plays out and how any additional content comes in and builds out that game and keeps it interesting and fresh. So, yeah, I agree. Like we'll see if that game ends up in my top 10. Celeste almost certainly will be. So, yeah, I'm comfortable calling it for Celeste for January's Game of the Month.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and maybe we could just go ahead and rank the other two. So it's just number 2 would be Monster Hunter World, and number 3 Dragon Ball FighterZ, and then number 4 all the other shit, all the rest of the garbage. No, there's some other good games, I'm sure. We'll come back with February in maybe 3 or 4 weeks. What's to look forward to? We got I guess Shadow of the Colossus for sure.
We already had Shadow.
Civ 6, Rise and Fall.
That Kingdom Come Deliverance with some people.
Yeah, that's looking pretty hot. I just got it installed, so I'm just actually going to finally give it a shot.
Yeah. Dude, Metal Gear Survive on the 20th. Oh my
God, really? That's coming out this month. Holy moly. I can't believe that's actually happening.
It's happening.
I wish Bayonetta 3 was coming out, but 1 and 2 collection, that's fine. A lot of ports to the Switch. A lot of those. A lot of expansions to strategy games. Stellaris is getting Apocalypse on the PC. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, it might come down to Metal Gear and Kingdom Come and Shadow of the Colossus. We'll see. Shadow of the Colossus is still pretty good. All right, Mike, let's wrap this up. Thanks for showing up this week. I'm sorry you missed 69. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
Maybe we could just start counting over again. This could be episode 1 again.
There we go.
We'll just go back up and we'll make it happen again. 70 episodes though. It's a pretty long time.
Pretty good.
Yep, absolutely.
Bad.
All right, we're wrapping this up. Mike, tell everybody where they could find you on the internet.
Oh, I'm always writing at GamesBeats.com. You can follow me on Twitter at. It's so hard to do this when you're pretending to drive with your steering.
You can follow me on the GamesBeat Decides bus. Yeah, we're going to Podcast Town. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Tolkoto on Twitter, and I'm always doing the Exploding Barrel podcast with my brother at ebpodcast.com.
You guys going to talk about your trip?
Probably, yeah.
Look forward to it.
Probably sounds good.
I am Jeff Grubb on Twitter. I'm also on Twitch at twitch.tv/JeffGrubb. I was playing with this steering wheel on there last night. I'm playing Spintires right now, the game I didn't really talk about that I was thinking about maybe talking about. That game's still very, very, very good to me. It's just...
Oh, so now you're just going to talk about
I know. I just keep thinking about it. It's just like you just drive trucks through mud and you get stuck and you have to get them out with like winches and stuff and other trucks and deliver loads of logs, and it's completely Eastern European in aesthetic. It's very good. I'm playing that right now on twitch.tv. I think that's going to be my main thing, especially with the steering wheel because it works really well with that game. So show up there. I also have some videos going up on youtube.com/Jeffrey Grubb. That's where I put up sort of a breakdown of the system settings and stuff for the Super NT. You kind of get a really good look at the stuff there and just how good the games look when you capture them off the device, which is very good. Probably the best looking versions of those games. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. Mike, we'll be back next week. Until then, I think we should just say goodbye to all these people and let them get on with their lives.
Goodbye to all these people. Let them get on with their lives.
Go live your lives, people. Leave us and come back next week.
Yeah, go. It's the weekend.
Bye.
I need more beer.